Welcome to Good Morning Hospitality, your one-stop shop for the latest news, noteworthy trends, and thought-provoking discussions across the industry. From hotels and short-term rentals to all things travel and hospitality, you'll find each episode equips you with the information that you need to start your week. Join us on Good Morning Hospitality every Monday, wherever you get your podcasts.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hospitality.
Happy Monday.
Best day of the week. How we doing?
Got that early morning energy. Man, we're so
Let's
corny.
go.
Let's stop.
Man.
Let's stop now.
Stop while we're ahead. I
How
don't know.
was
It's
the
just
bachelorette party, Brandy?
Oh my God. Well, I have literally just come back from it. Luckily, it was in Miami, so all I had to do was Uber home. But it a lot of fun, but I am tired. I need some of that early morning energy to last throughout the day, but it was good.
Well, Will's got plenty of it.
I know.
Hey, I was just telling Brandy, after I got home from a long, long time spent in Florida, I feel great. I'm feeling rejuvenated. Been with my people, getting that Denver sun, laid in my own bed. So good.
The own
Then
bed is
Well, then it's like, then I'm gone Tuesday night. So to go to another conference. So shout out to everyone going to Skift this week. It's gonna be fun.
It will be fun.
That energy. Yeah.
It's a
Good lineup.
very different crowd that typically goes to Skift than VRMA.
for sure.
And it can be a lot more fun of a crowd. So I'll just go ahead and say it.
Hey, that's what I'm excited for. The speaker lineup is good. Posted on LinkedIn about going to the event, and lots of good comments coming in of people, booking their tickets last minute because of the FOMO. So if you haven't booked your ticket to go to Skift's short-term rental summit, you should go meet up there. I think Parker Stanberry and I are going to put a little drink happy hour on. So we're going to have a lot of fun. Good time. For all of our live viewers, so obviously you guys should all come. And
Nice.
listeners. It's great.
Well, one thing happened to me last week I want to touch on. I was looking at booking a place down in 30A, and perfect timing because we talked about cleaning fees last week or 2 weeks ago. And I ran into it in the wild. The cleaning fee was $1,500.
It's so
for a 2-night
crazy.
stay in a 6-bedroom house. $1,500.
For a
So I ran the
two-night
math, and that equates to about a $400,000 per year salary. So I might change jobs. I might start a new business because this is absurd. So I will leave the company's name out of it. But $1,500 company, that's excessive.
Yeah, that's just, and we've talked before about how dynamic cleaning fees are like a highly desired thing, but really kind of logistically, difficult at the moment. So there hasn't really a solution. And it's like, okay, maybe if you had rented the house, the 6-bedroom house for a month or something, that might be slightly more justifiable, but that is an outrageous fee.
I messaged the company. I'm using all my restraint from saying their name.
Wait, can you clarify? Was this a company or a host? An individual?
Was a professional management company. They had like 50 or 60 properties in the 30A region. So you know who you are if you're charging $1,500 for a cleaning fee. But I thought it was a typo. Like maybe they fat fingered a 1 in front of a $499 cleaning fee. So I messaged them and said, is this the accurate cleaning fee? And they said, yes. So, Chris, why not build it into the rate? So on Airbnb, you can either break it out or have it all in one. I choose the breakout mode so I can catch things like this, where a fee is extortionate. I'll say it.
Well, also in that respect, when this is a big topic that we've talked about a lot, like, and as an industry and also internally, when you build those fees into the rate, obviously your rate is higher. So then you're penalized for having a higher price than potentially those in your comp set.
Yeah, I wouldn't have even clicked it because it would have been so far out of the price range. So yeah, it's a little bait and switch, which is not cool. It's not a great guest experience. But at the same time, I'm flabbergasted by that. So
well, I told you guys
Yeah, I'll try it.
Yeah.
I'll let you know how it goes.
If people are actually booking those, because that's absurd. Like that's pure margin for you, isn't it?
Yeah, like
Well,
come stay in our 1 bedroom and pay a $1,000
yeah.
cleaning fee.
Well, I like in our group chat, I sent you guys this castle that I used to manage back in the day. And castle, quote unquote. 22,000 square feet, and we had a cleaning fee of $1,500. And that was like we had obviously longer stays. So it was like no one stayed for 2 nights at our castle. It just didn't make any sense financially. But even that was like fair market rate because it could be split across 22 people that are staying versus
Yeah.
this home is probably what made for one family,
It's a
maybe.
6-bedroom house. Yeah. So
Yeah,
12
yeah.
people.
Yeah.
But
Very different.
it's
Very
not a
different.
ranch either.
Yeah.
Not a ranch. So yeah, moving on. That grinded my gears this week. But if you're out there and charging over $1,000 cleaning fee, I actually talked to my buddy Jimmy Rep. Shout out Jimmy.
Shout out Jimmy.
If that is like a thing, and Airbnb apparently won't let you have cleaning fees that are that high unless you're using a third-party software that's pulling in the number automatically. So most professionals are using a third party to pull it in automatically, but I think Airbnb has a cap at $750 for individual hosts cleaning fees.
Well, I would say, I mean, to the point of like, if it really is an exceptionally large home or whatever, and like that is the cost, then okay. But I think it has to, match the
Yeah.
rate, match the
Yeah.
property.
And the guest type, like again, going back to that castle, it was all big parties, multiple families. This is not like and the nightly rate wasn't like $150. It's $900 a night plus, moving into high season or low season. So, I think, when you go for what Michael was trying to book, get $175 a night, and then all of a sudden, boom, $1,500 fee. You're like, dang, like that escalated quick.
Yeah, doubled the price. I sent it to my buddy that was going to be staying with me, and I was like, "Oh man, this one's a great location, fairly priced." And he was the one that kind of like, "Oh, why is it $7,000?" It's like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah,
that escalated quickly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this goes perfect into today's theme because we're going to talk about and break out some of the stuff that makes professional managers and individual hosts pretty unique, but also going into each platform, why maybe some bigger operators get less good reviews, but yet hosts then get penalized for not being standard across the board and consistent kind of execution. So before we get into that, though, how Michael got hit with a big cleaning fee, $1,500 a night, or not a night for this day, for this like house that shouldn't deserve a $1,500 cleaning fee. Well, guess what? Your guests are getting savvy and they're picking up on things like hidden fees and all the extra junk that comes into either not booking with a property manager or booking with a host. And one of those things is an empty pantry. Not enough garbage bags, not enough other amenities such as like shampoo, etc., coffee, the biggest one, leaving them with one coffee pot and it's most likely decaf. Those are no longer the days. We aren't about that life over here on Good Morning Hot.
No, decaf coffee, especially.
Who
Especially.
drinks that?
Especially. Yeah. Who's doing that? You guys are crazy. So, with that being said, Sojo's Pantry solution is the best solution for property managers to not only surprise and delight your guests, but you can, of course, make your brand the hero. So that way, when they do leave a great review for your stay, your brand will be mentioned and be rising above all the rest. So, shout out to Sojo. Go ahead to, what am I saying? Go to getsojo.com/GMH, and then you can get your 30-day free trial with us or with them. And of course, get the pantry solution all solved for your homes. So shout out to Sojo. And Michael, before we actually get into the topic, you want to talk about Good Morning Retreats really quick and how this actually ties into our retreat theme?
Yeah. So today's topic is mostly around professionalizing moments of hospitality. And in 1 month at Auburn, we will be bringing together professionals to learn just that. So if you're interested in learning more information, goodmorningretreats.com. Check it out. We'd love to have you.
Yeah. only like 1 or 2 spots left. And for all the people that are attending, so shout out to Tanner Cummings, Eric Moeller, Rena, and Dan from Boutique. Couple names to name drop on the show. If you're just getting a little FOMO from that, the 3 of us are going to be there. Who doesn't want to hang out with 3 of us in person for a weekend or 2 days? So yeah, it's going to be a good time. Good time. There's a comment coming in from Chris really quick. I want to pull this up maybe. Your guys' thoughts as we're on the cleaning fee moving into the rest of the conversation. Are they possibly using the high cleaning fees to avoid local occupancy tax?
Good question. No, that was a different line item. So that was another $300-$400 separate. So yeah, the rates, I think there were 4 or 5 items of fees. So the Airbnb had their guest booking fee, there was the local occupancy tax, there was the cleaning fee, and then of course the rate. So line by line, Chris, line by line, the consumer gets feed to death, and it's not a fun position to be in.
Not at all.
But on today's topic, there's a comment the CFO of Airbnb said that there's a presumption that professional hosts provide better quality than individual hosts. And that's not entirely proven out by their data. And anecdotally speaking, a professional host should offer quality consistency. They should be kind of the Marriott of short-term rentals. You know what you're expecting from a professional host. A clean house, good communications, fair pricing, whatever. When I rented out my primary house for football games in Auburn, I did it a few times a year. Our yard had blueberries and figs and peaches and all these sorts of things. We would leave guests a jar of jam from that season, like whatever was in season right then. We would have fresh flowers. We would have some football themed stuff. And then we'd have a 6-pack of beer, a bottle of wine. There's no professional management company that can do that regularly, consistently. Now, there are tools out there like Sojo's VIP box that allow you to kind of elevate your game there and make it a little bit easier. But in general, a single host that cares is going to be doing better than a professional host that's doing a good job. Mm-hmm. But on the flip side, you have the single hosts that don't care are going to be doing a way worse job than professional hosts doing their job, doing a good job. So that's really the basis of today's discussion. And since you have a great perspective, Brandy, on managing hundreds of properties, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I agree. Like there's the reality of operating a large business. And so, yeah, not every guest is going to get a super personalized touch. You might not be having that back and forth with the guest as much. There's some hosts that really love to like basically get to know their guests before they come or checking in with them a lot during the stay. Like we have obviously a customer service team. You can talk to them as much as you need, but that it's not like I know that some hosts try to build like real relationships sometimes with their guests, and that is obviously that's not happening in a bigger business. And if we know that someone's coming in for an anniversary or a 21st birthday or whatever it is, sometimes we can do like a little activation, but it's probably not, it's not figs coming from our Romy garden,
Mm-hmm.
So, and I also think for the properties, like you can have these really exceptional stays where it's someone's home that they've really put a lot of care into maintaining, and it might have some unique features because it's their home. And when you're a professional operator, if you're going for consistency and standardization, obviously that kind of cuts out the creativity and uniqueness that you would have host to host. It would be a true nightmare if literally every single unit in a 77 building was different. So you lose that out. But again, to Michael's point, it's like you're getting usually consistency across the board. And I think where it goes into the review aspect, it's just kind of common knowledge that I think that the bigger you get, the worse your review score is, because there isn't that level of high touch. Now, that's not what you should be aiming for, but it's also just, let's say you do book by type and you have 30 units feeding into one unit. you're going to get some people aren't going to have a good stay. And so even if you have all 5 stars, you could have 2, 3 stars or a 1 star, and that kind of starts dragging you down a bit.
Yeah. And I think, if a maintenance issue went on in my house and it's like a Sunday, sorry guys, like I'm not a handyman and the plumbers will be out there on Monday, right? Whatever it is. But a professional management company, especially of Romy's size, has those people on staff and they can send them out that day, that hour. So it is a trade-off, right? It's a bit of a risk from the booker going with an individual host. It could be a way better experience or a way worse experience. If you just want a good, consistent, you know what you're getting, the Marriott of vacation rentals, you go with a professional host, especially one that has good reviews. To Brandy's point, and Jamie Lane from AirDNA shared some great information with us. But professional hosts typically do have a lower review score than individual hosts. Go next one, Will.
There we go.
Here we go.
Yeah. So the bigger you are, the worse or the fewer, it's the lower review scores you have. And part of that's because what Brandy said, you can have the same unit type if you're urban multifamily, and then all of those reviews go towards the same property or same listing. But overall, you've got a lot more bites at the apple than an individual host. And
Exactly.
I think people also probably retaliate a little bit more towards professionals than they do someone that met them at the door and handed them the keys. And that's a big difference. We used to do that ourselves. My wife and I, we would meet everyone because there was data out that showed if you meet your guests beforehand, the chance of property damage is near zero. If they can humanize and realize like this is your house and you care about it. Whereas the flip side, if you've never met the people or never talked with them, then you care a little bit less.
And quick disclaimer for all of our listeners, if you are not watching on YouTube or on LinkedIn or on Twitter, we are putting graphs on the screen. You can see the data provided by Jamie Lane from AirDNA. Just for those visual people out there, we'll try to post them on our pages as well. But
we'll describe them a little bit more. You want to bring up a different slide?
Yeah, what one are we aiming for?
I think let's do the available listings in the US, because this is the one that so here you can see that only 27% are 21 units plus, basically indicating a professional manager, which also could be the 6 to 20 if you're a little bit on the smaller side. But what I think is more interesting, and we don't have this data, is the revenue for all of those listings, because you can have a ton of listings out there, but are you like and I think that's what Airbnb is touting, is that like, hey, this 70% of our listings are individual hosts, and it's like, okay, well, are they also 70% of the revenue? Because I think that there is the professional managers have more tools and more kind of like ability to not manipulate, but use the systems to get more bookings.
In Airbnb's S1, and it's been several years now, so this will be directional, but they had something like 7 million listings. And in their S1, they acknowledged that about 1 million of them, finger to the wind, hadn't taken a reservation in the past 2 years. Or maybe 2 million hadn't taken a reservation in the past 2 years. 1 million hadn't taken a reservation in the past 12 months. And then below that, like another 1 million had only taken 1 to 5 reservations in a year. And so, that 7 million mark gets down to 3 million really quickly. And it's the professionals that are taking the majority of the bookings just because they're full-time rentals. They're not someone's primary residence or even a second home where they summer in all year and take away half of the calendar, right?
Yeah.
So there is a big difference between the professional side and the individual hosts, even in Airbnb's own public S1 declarations.
Yeah, and I mean, this is Airbnb has always been really forthright about the fact that they really love the hosts. I mean, it kind of feeds into Brian's whole vision of the company and the ethos around why it was started and what it could do for the global community and all of that stuff. But then I think conversely, you have, what Booking and Expedia are all looking at. Like, if you can onboard one manager and that brings on 100 listings, 1,000 listings, then that is a much quicker way to boost your inventory. And I would say that those other Airbnb has done such a great job of creating this ecosystem for the small hosts, which the other platforms don't do. But on the
Mhm.
flip side of that, those small hosts are also losing out on revenue that they could be making from another channel.
Yeah. I think we kind of talked about this after my time at the Level Up Your Listing conference when we had someone who said like she activated this property on Airbnb and didn't get any bookings for 2 weeks. And it was like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Spent all this money, rehab, pictures, all the stuff on this property. And it was beautiful. It was like gorgeous. And I told her, I was like, have you thought about just going on Verbo or another site? And she was like, no, I wanted to do that. And told her to go on Verbo and see, because I feel like this house is made for more of like a family traveler rather than just like a individual or whatever, and just would do well on Verbo. Puts it on Verbo, 24, 36 hours later, immediately getting bookings and like at the rates and doing really well. So I think, it also comes down to you have to, like, I want your guys' opinion for the host side. I think maybe they're going to start opening up that Airbnb is a great platform to get started, but it may not be the exact platform every property that you have under management needs to be on. So I'm curious from your guys' perspective, do you think we'll see individual hosts start waking up to, diversification and distribution channels potentially outside of just Airbnb, or do you think a lot of people are really just sucked on that Airbnb wave?
I think it'll really depend on the host. So if you're doing this, like, a hobby host, like this is something fun, a little extra money that you're doing it,
Mhm.
it's not your full-time source of income, then I would say you're probably going to stick with Airbnb. It's the easiest option. But as we're seeing as an industry, demand soften, you're seeing ADRs are not coming back up, then you might say, okay, what else? If this is my primary form of income or I have a
Mhm.
mortgage to support, how else am I going to drive revenue? And that's when people will start looking to diversify. And the easiest one, I think, is like the calendar share between Airbnb and Verbo, if that's still possible. And then at least you can block the dates and you don't have double bookings, and it's easy to manage two of those sites before having to get a property management system.
For sure.
Yeah, I think a lot of it depends on how good and how quickly Airbnb rolls out these added benefits. The locks integration, AI guest messaging, uh, smart pricing. Don't fall for it, people. It's not going to
It's
help
not
you.
smart.
It
It's
is
helpful
worse.
for Airbnb. It is not for your bottom line.
It
Yeah,
will increase heads and beds, but it will not increase profit margin. So
not at all.
your choice: more work for less money, or less work for more money. Anyway,
Their smart
I,
pricing is made for them, not for you.
I digress. We all digress. But do you mind bringing up the percent of Airbnb reviews by host count graph? So another great stat by AirDNA. First of all, one thing that's really interesting is the amount of reviews is decreasing by 5 to 10% in across the board, which is interesting. People are kind of tired of reviews, like they're tired of tipping, and
Mhm.
uh,
Preach.
but the chart basically shows that one single unit hosts get a good chunk of reviews, something like 25 to 30% of reviews by host unit count. 2 to 5 get the most, which I think this cohort is probably the cohort that's trying to make this their full-time source of income. And then it drops off a cliff for 6 to 20 units and 21 plus units. And part of that, I think we mentioned it earlier, individuals that have built relationships with their guests or their hosts are more likely to leave a review. They want to help them out. They also might be more persistent to get a review. But professionals, it's on autopilot, and that person's either going to do it or they're not. And there is a bit of the review fatigue, like there is the tip fatigue. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see the number of reviews continue to come down. Now, that said, when Airbnb becomes a social media company, we all think this is going to happen. At least Will and I definitely do. Brandy, no, not so much.
I don't know.
Brandy's on the hype train.
I think it's my own personal fatigue with everyone trying to do everything. I out of spite did not complete my Airbnb profile with all the extra things they asked.
Fair enough. But if you look at the engagement that those 1 to 5 unit hosts get, that's what Chesky sees, and that's what Chesky likes. Engagement on the platform. And everything else is finger to the wind, about half the number of reviews that 1 to 5 cohort gets from 6+. So they, again, Will said it earlier, Airbnb's never been shy. Maybe Brandy said it. Airbnb's never been shy about saying they favor the single hosts to professional managers, period. You're fooling yourself if you think otherwise.
Yeah. And I kind of want to make a comment and maybe even pose a question at the end, but, at VRMA Executive Summit, I had the opportunity to sit down with some of our favorites from listeners of the show to friends in the industry, like Robin Cragen, who, by the way, I found out Robin Cragen told Megan Moylan that he stopped listening to Slick Talk and he only likes to listen to GMH now out of all my podcasts. And he obviously listens to Workflows and Espresso and a few others. But I was like, what the hell? He totally left me in the dust.
Your children are fighting.
Yeah, he was like legit. He's like, yeah, I listen to the one with Will and Brandy and Michael now. That's my show. And I was like, dude, can't believe it. Can't believe you switched
People
sides.
like to stay up to date with the news. So like and subscribe. Leave a comment.
But anyways, I digress from that. But he was talking we were talking about a lot of stuff from professional standpoint, right? And I did ask Robin a couple questions around certain things when it comes to professionalism and standardizations and certain things. And, obviously Robin's inventory and properties are very different from a lot of our listeners. They're high end, million plus, $3, $5, $10 million homes, very luxurious. There's a lot of service that goes into it. And Robin and the team are super obsessed about unreasonable hospitality and other things that go into the execution of hospitality in itself. And I do know that some operators in our industry, there's a point of okay, we're just about getting to a certain number, because then once we get to a number, we're going to start stabilizing the properties and the revenue and trying to get to that. But then you have the Robin Cragans of the industry that are all about scale slowly. It's 25 years in the making, and they're but they're at 210-ish homes, 200 plus around after their latest acquisition. But it's still a very interesting way when you look at the reviews. It's interesting to see that even the bigger property managers are, lacking that review score. I would love to know, do you guys think that this is a big opportunity for the bigger PMs, the executives that were, VRMA Executive Summit that have hundreds of homes, if not, 1,000? Do you think that they can step up into this area and actually, out compete with the individual hosts on those reviews? Do you think that's ever a point of kind of tipping the needle?
I don't really know, to be honest. I think to Michael's point, there is a lot of fatigue with reviews. Every single thing that you do now, you're asked to review it, basically. And because we've created a system where you live and die on these reviews. Now, when we're in those slides, when you see those drop-offs, the bottom of the graph is a 4.4. So it's not that the quality is slipping so much that these professional hosts are in the 3s and 2s. And
are you talking about this slide, Brandy?
Yeah. So you see so you have, obviously the highest is a 5 and the lowest here is a 4.4. So if in the most recent, for value with people with 100 plus units, it's just under a 4.6. So these are those little differences between a 4.6 and a 4.8. The number of reviews that you have to get back up to that is, we've done the math a couple of times and it's dozens. Sometimes you need 100 reviews to combat 2 bad reviews. And so that's just, the bigger you get, the more heads and beds you have, the more reservations, the harder that is to make up, because it's a volume game. Whereas if you have 5 reservations in a year, and they're all 5 stars, that's a different story.
Yeah.
So if you have ideas on how professionals can awe and inspire and what's the term I'm looking for? Surprise and delight.
Surprise and
Surprise and
delight.
delight.
Then join us at the Auburn Hospitality Retreat. Last plug.
Last plug. You'll see our good partners Sojo there, as long as Well and Good and a couple other amazing operators out there. So shout out to everybody attending. We're super pumped, by the way. I have a lot of details to send you guys away. Like when Staples wants me to review the box of copy paper I buy every week. Yep.
Yes, exactly, Chris.
Exactly, Chris. Exactly. Or
How's it
anytime
feel?
How's it different from this last week? That's hilarious. No, so it's a good point. But yes, I think this is a big opportunity to talk about moving forward in the industry. I know there's a lot of other topics in the industry from other conferences. I know, certain things that have kind of come up from the VRMA Executive Summit to now going into Skift. I think we're going to have a lot more grounded discussion around ops and growth and profit and execution of hospitality. So it's going to be a really good time for all of our listeners. You guys know exactly what to do. That's like, subscribe, go to the website, goodmorninghospitality.com, find all your favorite content there. Not only do we have our Monday edition, we have our amazing European crew every Tuesday, 8 a.m. Central. And then, of course, our hotel crew who just crushes it every week and is traveling all over the world. Shout out to Sarah and Steve, and also happy birthday to Steve on Sunday. It was yesterday, the June 2nd, and Sarah's birthday. Shout out to Sarah. Her birthday is on the 9th. So we got two GMH people back to back with birthdays. Just a quick little fun fact of the day. So happy birthday, happy early birthday. Yeah, awesome. Well, you guys have anything exciting for your week before we hit the outro? Anything you want to give everyone a little shout out, sneak a peek? No, just grinding, just building.
Grinding.
That's gonna be Brandy's next shirt. Just grinding. Love it.
Just grinding.
Awesome. All right, everybody. We'll see you again next week. And of course, like always, thank you guys for tuning in.